What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? I am going live over on IG as well. So getting that set up while my Facebook posse is coming in. So set up here. Can you see and hear me? Y'all know, for those of you who rock with me, you know I'm always about the see and hear. So let me know the minute we are good to go over there. All right, so I'm live over here on IG. I'm live over there to Demetria. Okay, so she says she can hear and see me. Okay, so let's get to it. Hey, everybody. I am TJ Mercer. If you're new to me, I have a lot of new people following me now over in Facebook world. So let me just set the tone of who I am, what I do, what I'm called to do. I am TJ Mercer. I'm known as the walking exclamation point and the beast in the media street. Hey, business bully and life first therapy. I am known as the beast in the media streets because I spent 25 years working on some of the biggest shows on TV and feature films. And I now leverage all of this 25 years. I leverage all my melanin is popping today. I don't know what's different. But yeah, I should warn my new followers that, you know, this is who you get when you come over here to TJ land. But I spent 25 years working on a whole bunch of shows, too many to count. And I was a behind the scenes producer for Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish's film Night School and Sam Jackson's 2019 Shaft. So I now teach authors, experts, coaches, and entrepreneurs how to book themselves in the media without a publicist and without being a celebrity. And a lot of things have happened in the media in the last few days. And so this is kind of a dual broadcast because I got my people here who just like my stories. And so I posted, I will tell you guys about whether or not I think Kevin Hart is a good father. I actually am rocking a new mic. How does that sound for the Facebook people and the YouTube people? My mic sounds okay. I'm testing out a new mic. I forgot to ask that opinion. So somebody tell me how it's going. So I've got people here who just like my stories, but then I also got people here that I want to talk and teach because, you know, I always go live when I feel like I have something to say and that is of great value. I don't want my computer to die. Hold on. Don't want the computer to die. Don't want it to die. Okay, let me plug it in. Okay, so we should be good to go. So let me see how I want to attack this first. So I think let me attack the newsjacking side. So if you're tuning in and you are an author, expert, coach, or an entrepreneur, newsjacking is the most powerful way to get you in the media quickly, in less than 24 hours. And if you've heard me teach, especially in the co-webinars and doing the Noisemaker Challenge, I give you receipt after receipt after receipt. Oh, I spilled a tablespoon of coffee on my Mac and it died. Yeah, Macs don't play. But I give you receipt after receipt of how newsjacking really can get you instant exposure for your business, your book, or your brand, just like that, in less than 24 hours. So yesterday, I posted in a couple of my groups that you should newsjack Kevin Hart's new film, Fatherhood. And if you are in the space of parenting, of grief counseling period, fathers, for those of you who have men-focused brands, you really should be newsjacking Kevin Hart's film, Fatherhood. Look and see where there are, you know, things that you enjoy, things that you don't enjoy, things you want no part of, like whatever that is. I want you to be putting yourself out there. And that led me to thinking about this incident that I had about Kevin. I kept going back and forth. Should I tell it? Should I not? Should I tell it? So I'm going to tell it towards the end. And then yesterday or Friday, I believe. Hey, baby. Friday, Demetria, Romanica. Hi, honey. Rhonda. Hey. So Mary J. Blige's documentary dropped. And turns out two of the creative forces behind it, we actually started working together on my very first show in Hollywood, Kevin Hart, Kevin Lopez and Mark Ford. And Kevin was an editor and he was so freaking good. Like, oh, I would just love to just sit under Kevin. He was just so good. And Mark was a producer. And then they also the ones that are now behind a lot of the behind the music shows. Remember those on VH1, that series? So they ended up starting producing team like that. So when I looked up and saw that, hi, Urban Spencer. When I looked up to see that Kevin and Mark were the geniuses behind the Mary J. Blige, I was really intrigued because I know how dope those dudes are. I know how good they are. And I really enjoyed it. And it dawned on me that there are themes in that are newsjackable for sure. So, you know, the whole issue of Mary transparently talking about self-love and how she didn't have in it, recovering from trauma. So if you were a counselor or a therapist, you really should be, hi, my Jasmine, you really should be newsjacking that whole, you know, film of Mary's journey. She, you know, the trauma she experienced and the abuse she experienced when she was 5. And I think as a teenager, Dream Pusher can talk about it from an aspect of helping, you know, what we need to go after our goals. Then she has the domestic violence of when she candidly talks about her relationship with Casey and JoJo. So if that is your brand, you know, survival and recovery and resilience, you have a lot of themes in Mary J. Blige's, Tawana says newsjackable is a legit word. Yes, I just made it a newsjackable word. So you have so many angles. Hey, never forget, I miss seeing you. You have so many angles that you can take that. And so what that looks like when you're newsjacking, what that looks like is you're taking something, a current event, a social media trend or something, and using it to hijack the conversation towards your brand. So essentially, what I'm doing here, hey, Dr. Stevie, what I'm doing here is I'm newsjacking. I'm newsjacking to use it as a jumping off point to shape my talk of what I'm sharing with you, to shape it around these themes. So I'm actively newsjacking by teaching you newsjacking and showing you these things that have happened. But if you saw my post, one of the best news jacks that I did over a film is when, and I talk about this all the time because it's still one of my most favorite news jacks, is that when Black Panther came out, at the time I had a hair loss expert on my roster. And Black Panther came out, that scene with the Wakanda warriors wearing wigs to blend in with the European people in the casino so their bald heads wouldn't show. When the fighting broke out, they grabbed that wig and they ripped them off. So I sent out a pitch for my client that started with Wakanda warriors are ripping their wigs off by choice, but 46 million women have to wear wigs by force. That one pitch that I fired off to several markets got her on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. That is the power of newsjacking. I give constantly example after example. So if you really need to dig more into newsjacking, Rhonda, can you put this under? I'm gonna put it here, but I don't think it's gonna show. I don't think it's gonna show on my personal page. So newsjackthat.com. Go grab, it's a free guide that I wrote for people who they don't understand newsjacking. I don't have time to stop and tell them. I spend a whole bunch of time. So I wrote a 15-minute book, maybe even longer if you're short if you're a speed reader, that will explain newsjacking and the power of it. power of it. You know, when the Hidden Figures movie, Dr. Stevie's brand is No More Hidden Figures. So to make me think about when the Hidden Figures movie came out and it brought STEM to the forefront. That's where we could have newsjacked that. You STEM experts could have leveraged what happened, you know, with her and the tenacity and the resilience was required for her. That is newsjacking. So I want you to make sure you start looking at media a little differently of where you fit and how you can make it work for your business, your book, or your brand. It can start out just posting it on your social media pages. I've had Mavericks get so much traction from just posting on their social media, you know, and it turned into actual traditional media because somebody picked it up. So I want you to really seriously consider looking at that. And then there's another, I just posted about today. Dang it, I forgot to confirm her name. So the Olympian who Nike threw shade at when she got pregnant. Somebody tell me her name? I just found out the name and it just escaped me. But she's a track star. And when she got pregnant, Nike tried to tell her, according to the reports I've read, Nike tried to tell her stay in her lane, and she was always Allison Felix. Thank you. Allison Felix. That, you know, they were almost going to penalize her for becoming pregnant. And she showed them she just dropped her whole clothing line. I can't speak for nobody else, but Nike, you know, I don't wear a lot of Nike anyway, so it ain't like they're going to lose my business. But when I am looking now, I'm going for her. She just dropped her whole athletics apparel. Girlfriend is getting ready to go to Olympics. And Keisha, not Marion. This is recently. She is doing the darn thing, and she's blowing up amongst social media. She dropped this dope ad and everything. So if your business is women business, women empowerment, women resilience, dealing with women issues, you know, the fact that, you know, she was almost penalized for being pregnant, whatever that is, insert yourself into the conversations. What lesson is out there for the viewer, the reader, the listener to get from how you're watching her explosion into the business market? And now she's headed to the Olympics. So are you beginning to see, you know, and then even watching the Olympics, I'm sure there are going to be all kinds of great stories that are going to be coming out of the Olympics. You know, whatever reason that, follow closely the reason that Serena Williams is not going to the Olympics. Follow what her decision is and see if there's something newsjackable there, Tawana. Just see if there's something there. It was 4 things. Okay, so let me think. It was Kevin Hart, Mary J. Blige. What else did I see? Oh, it was Serena. It was the Serena aspect, because I had 4 that you could be, you know, kind of looking at. And then Pamela says, I wrote an article on females in sports and how they're treated different from men athletes. That's a great news jack. And your headline, your jumping off point should start with about Allison, because that's what gets the attention. She's trending. And it's basically just leveraging what's already out there trending to get the attention you need. Is that making sense? So I want you really to start looking at media differently and how you can position yourself. So those are the teachable moments. So now I'll tell you the fun stuff. So first of all, I remembered that was kind of a teachable moment too, the whole aspect of stay ready, you know, so you don't have to get ready. So I thought about this when I was watching Mary J yesterday, and she was talking about her domestic violence journey. And so for those of you who don't know, I almost lost my life at the hands of my ex-husband several times. And so I wrote a book called The 6-Figure Battered Wife. So I was pulling up in Costco one day, and the book was out. My friend T. Jones, you know, had submitted a story for the book. And she knew it was out. And so she told me, where are you? I was like, I just parked at Costco. Oh, you got a lot to get in Costco? And I'm like, I don't know. What's up? And she was like, well, my friend is a producer for Mary J. Blige's podcast, and they need a guest to talk about domestic violence. Mary's going to do a domestic violence show. And I was like, okay, when? She was like, in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes! I was like, yeah. So I was like, okay, let me get home. Let me pull over somewhere and, get quiet, so it'd be in a quiet space. And so 20 minutes later, I am sitting, in my little car, my little Tonka toy, and I'm sitting here, going through my head like, okay, what are my talking points? And fortunately, I had done a few interviews, so I knew what my talking points should be for this interview. So my talking points was, and I'm always, when I do interviews, I don't just do interviews for the sake of sharing my story. For me, it's always an empowering, you got to walk away with something. So I'm always wanting to, make sure that the audience is served. So when the producer called to actually, talk about, get background information, one of the first questions I ask and I teach my clients to ask, what is it that you want your viewers or your listeners to know as a result of my interview? Like, what is their takeaway? Because they know their viewers the best. They know their listeners the best. So we need to ask them what it is that you want from us, because the people who rock in Media Mavericks land, they know we serve, we don't promote. Okay. I just taught this to my Mavericks now, who I just started taking the class live last Thursday. And if any of you want to still get in the class, send me an inbox. We'll see what make it happen. But we just started teaching it last Thursday. So the replay is up, and I'm going to be teaching it live for the remaining 9 weeks. I haven't taught it live in 2 years, and don't know when I'll be able to teach it again just because of my schedule. But if there's something you need to be in this class, shoot me an inbox, and my assistant will make sure she has a conversation with you. But one of the things that I instantly remember, like, okay, I just need to know because I had never listened to Mary's podcast. I'm trying to remember if I knew she had a podcast, because I don't listen to podcasts. So I'm like, did I even know I don't know. But I was like, I know I never heard Mary's podcast, but I'm a media coach. So I got this. And so producer, talks to me and really is like, she's like, okay, so I'm gonna have you on, Mary. She walks me down what's getting ready to happen. So she puts me on hold, and I sit there, and in my little Tonka toy, looking like a straight bum because I was running to Costco, I sat there and did a 20-minute interview with the one and only Grammy-winning, incredible songwriter, dope performing sensation known as Mary J. Blige. And at one point, I had to say to myself, oh my God, like, you have got to be kidding me. But it's kind of, that thing that I have to compartmentalize that so I can do my job. My job was not to fan out of Mary, but, and one of her questions was, what has been one of the things that have gotten you through? And honest to God, it was really, truly Mary's song, No More Drama. And so it was an honor to be able to tell her, for a season, I listened to that song, No More Drama, over and over and over again. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah, Mary, I know it sounds like, I'm saying this just for you, but the people around me know I listened because it was just like, I'm tired, but I'm going to bounce back. I'm okay. And so then one of the talking points that I taught was, how to tell if you're sleeping next to crazy. So I actually broke down, is he crafty with making the irrational seems rational? R, does he refuse? So crazy is the acronym. So C, is he crafty and making the irrational seem rational? R, does he refuse to accept responsibility for his own actions? A, does he assume the decision, the position of sole decision maker? You don't have a say in what goes on. Z, does he zero in on your faults, your insecurities, paying no attention to his? And Y, does he yank at mental, physical stability of your life like it's a rug and you can never find your balance? That was the segment. Now, do you see, teachable moment? I haven't said that segment in so long, and I'm getting ready to teach this segment of sounding effortless takes effort. And actually, I saw a quote from Leslie Jones today, you know, Leslie from Saturday Night Live, and she was talking about Simone Biles, and she goes, when you ain't nowhere near being damn scared when you show up prepared, or something like that. I wrote it down, but it's like that thing, that crazy acronym is so in my DNA. It's so, I practice it so much that years later, when I haven't even talked about it, it still comes up now for you. So, but because I sat down and done the work, I had looked at, if I get the opportunity to talk about the six-figure battered wife, my book, what are the aspects of the book I'm going to talk about? When you do media, you're not going onto media to promote your book. Celebrities can do that. Mary J can do that. I can't. I got to figure out, how does my book serve the audience? What problem does my book solve for the audience? So the problem that my book solves is helping domestic violence victims understand the 5 signs they're sleeping next to crazy. That's how I had to break it down. So we did the interview. I forgot what else Mary asked me, but it was like 20-minute interview. And when I was done, you know, I hung up and I sat there for a minute and I was just like, Real Love was hit my freshman year at Howard. That's when Mary J became the thing for me. You know, I'm not a huge Mary J, Blige fan like some of you. I'm not, I don't know every song. I'm typically going to see her in concert when she with somebody else I know. But you know how music will take you just to a moment in time. And I remember this moment in time where Real Love was hot. We had just done this walkathon with Delta Sigma Theta as a fundraiser. And we were just out in the streets of DC dancing to Real Love. And so I sat there and I was just like, yo, God, how dope is this? This is such a full circle moment. It is such a full circle moment where nowhere in my creative imagination did I think that I would ever be sitting and doing an interview with Mary J. Blige, ever. So that's the Mary story. Kevin Hart thing. Now, here's one thing that came up too. So when I watched Red Table Talk, any of you see Kevin's Red Table Talk with Will Smith? Anybody see that? Anybody see that while I take a drink? As I'm letting the delay catch up. Did anybody see it? It was really good. It was really good. So in the Red Table Talk, Kevin shows up late. Okay, so Erica Patrice saw it. So you remember Kevin shows up late. So the first part of this story, it triggers when I saw the Red Table Talk. I'll still get to tell you what kind of father he is, and it may surprise you. But the Red Table Talk, he showed up late, like an hour and a half late. And I'm watching this and I'm going, that's just not the Kevin I had experience with. I accidentally, well, not accidentally, it was intentional on her part. So I'll tell you that story another day of how I even ended up being the night school producer. I had never done this at all. She tricked me into end up being the night school producer for the film. So I'll tell you that another day. Somebody remind me, I'll tell you that. So And I'll also tell y'all one day, I don't know if I've ever told y'all the story of how Ronnie DeVoe jumped up in the barbershop yelling at me. I had worked on their home edition, their home again. That's what it's called, home again DVD. So somebody remind me. One day I'll tell y'all that story. That's pretty funny too. So I ended up being the night school producer, not having a clue what I was doing, because I had never done this. I was only supposed to be in Atlanta for the weekend. I ended up being in Atlanta for 5 months after night school, basically back and forth to LA a couple of times. But so I'm the behind the scenes producer. What that means, as the behind the scenes producer, Rhonda goes, oh yeah, I'm gonna remind you of that. What that means is I'm responsible for all the things related to shooting the film so we can get footage to promote the film. And then when you get the DVD, and you know how it has those bonus features, or it used to be they would do entire TV shows talking about film. Well, I was your girl for that. I used to do Shrek. I did one for The Incredibles. I did one for Brother Bear. I did one for Chronicles of Narnia. I did Chronicles of Narnia, that whole DVD. I did all of the Princess like I spent 8 years doing nothing but that. But then when I had been away from it for about 5 or 6 years, and I never was the person on the set. I was always the person in the post department handling that aspect of the production. Never had to go to set and deal with the stars. So I was just like, wait, what? How do I end up here? So my experience with Kevin, why the Red Table Talk was so surprising, is that Kevin is the hardest working man I have ever seen. And this was during the window of that trouble he got in with he and his, wife, and that, and, ain't none of my business. That's between he and his wife. But it was also during, that happened while he was filming Night School. And it had happened before I actually got loose to the project. So, that was that situation. So I came in before. And so by the time I got on it, it was, I was already, nervous because I'd never done this. And now I'm walking into a situation where there's this whole, I remember having to watch out of all the paparazzi that would be surrounding when we were shooting outside, when we were shooting that chicken scene. For those of you who saw the movie, and that the chicken scene where he's in the chicken soup, I remember having to look at where's the paparazzi, making sure they're not in the shot, or making sure that the filmmakers are aware that the paparazzi is over here. So Kevin needs to, we constantly was, watching this. So when Will said, when Will is being played, at least, I don't know if Kevin was really late for the Red Table Talk, but, for Kevin to be an hour and a half, I was like, that's a contradiction. That is not who I know Kevin to be. And let me tell you something, the Kevin I know, not know, like we friends, I ain't got his phone number, but the Kevin that I worked with was never late. The Kevin I worked with was always professional, always in tune, always very kind. I never saw him be mean. So much so that there was one particular night, because remember during that window, Kevin was also shooting his latest comedy show. I forget which one it was, but he was shooting the comedy show. I kid you not. This is what happened. Okay. I've just thought about another something too about that film. I'll tell you when I finish this. So wait, I'll tell y'all now. Okay, no, I'll tell you in a minute. Let me stay track, because I just remembered what happened. So Kevin had shot all day on Thursday. At around 1:00 in the morning, Kevin sat down in an interview chair to do an interview with me that Universal really, really needed. So, because the movie is produced by Universal Studios. So they had sent, what they really wanted to do. And let me just tell you, I had a moment also on the set. My first or second day in, I had to write some, y'all know I don't like writing. I had to write a quick tidbit promo to get Kevin to do and while he was in the chicken soup, and we were only going to be there 1 or 2 days. I think this was my first day officially on set. I had to write something for Kevin Hart. I was nervous. I don't like writing. I was nervous as all crap. I'm not a comedic writer. But I got to write this thing for the Kevin Hart, master comedian, the Kevin Hart. Are you serious? So I wrote it, and it had to go through Will Packer. For those of you who know Will Packer produced, he's the $1 billion producer. He produced Girls Trip, Night School. What else Will got coming up? He's behind the show. What's that called? It's like the urban version of Access Hollywood. Will is everything basically, or behind a lot of really, really solid films. He's so good. So I took it over to Will, and I'm a nervous wreck because it has to go through Will first. And I'm sitting here watching what I had just banged out in like a half an hour. And Will reads, and I see him go, "Oh, this is good. This is good. Kevin's going to like this. Kevin's going to like this." And I was just like, what? I don't even know what to say, what to do. Like, what? What? And so I'm like, but still, Kevin has to prove it, and Kevin has to do it. Do y'all know I sat there maybe on my first or second day on set and watched Kevin Hart record words that I had written. Like, I have pictures of Kevin Hart recording words that I had just written. And he was so good at it. A little country girl from Jackson, Tennessee, who only had dreams of working in Hollywood, wrote something that Kevin Hart recorded as a promo for the film. So back to Kevin. So Kevin sat down with me, and it wasn't odd for the stars to sit down and do an interview. That's why being in the position of a producer, you got to have the energy. You've got to have what it takes, because your actors are sitting down and they're tired. When I interviewed Fat Joe for the film, he sat down in my chair like 2:30 in the morning. Mind you, I had been at set all day. He had been at set all day. We both was tired, but I had a job to do. I had to get good stuff out of him. So my energy can't be tired. So Kevin sat down at 1 o'clock on a Thursday night to record maybe about 20, 30-minute interview with me, which is a lot after you've been shooting all day. He goes straight to the airport, gets on a plane to go to the city where he's doing, I forget what city it was, to go where he's going to be doing 2 nights of his shows. So he does a Friday night show, a Saturday night show. Then catch this. He then flies out either late Saturday night after the show or first thing Sunday morning to get to New York to run the marathon. Because remember, that was the window where he was training. I forget who he signed with, Adidas or Nike, I'm not sure. But he ran a marathon. Oh, I'm not finished. He runs the marathon in New York and then gets on a plane and flies across the country to LA. Why? Because it was his son's birthday. And he wanted to spend the day with his son. So he gets to LA, spends Sunday after running the marathon in LA. Monday morning, first thing, we're set up at the location that is his house when he was younger, where they were having the dinner with the parents. So that was our shooting day. I'm standing there thinking, there's no way Kevin is going to be here on time. The dude is tired. He's tired. Do you not know Kevin was on time, had done, because that was when they had to do the cornrow wig, because it was a flashback to his younger days. So he had gotten there in time to be in makeup, in hair, getting it done, and showed up on Monday morning on set, in position, ready to go. That is who I know Kevin Hart to be. That's who I had experience of watching his work ethic. You can be mad at him for whatever mistakes he made. I don't care. That's between he and his wife. But when it comes to work ethic and then how he treats his crew, the people, especially the people who were with him coming up, he is a solid dude. Now, catch this. Connected to fatherhood. So Night School is about when Kevin actually goes back to school, night school, to get his GED. So the bulk of our film is shot at in a school, in an abandoned high school. Actually, it's shot in Cam Newton's old high school. Cam Newton's childhood house was right down the street. So we shot in Cam Newton's childhood high school. And my office was way down the hall from set, and it wasn't lit up. It was dark, down in this end of the hall. And the only lights were if you turn the lights on in the classroom. So I'm sitting in our office, my team's production office, and I'm just working. And, it's dark in the bed, and you wouldn't even know I was in there. All of a sudden, I hear Kevin's voice. And I was like, what in the world? And I'm by myself. I'm like, what are they shooting down here? I'm like, oh crap. Do I need to make sure I get out the way? Because I didn't see nothing on our beat sheet as to they're going to be shooting down here. So I'm trying to, figure out like, oh crap, do I have to have our crew move all the, the equipment and whatnot? And I hear Kevin and I freeze because this is still the star of the film, and I freeze because I'm like, I don't know what to do. Do I need to, because I can recognize he's on the phone. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I let him know I'm here? Like, because I could tell he's on the phone, and I'm not an eavesdropper. I am the chick that I am so unnosy. I'm like my mother. Like, I don't want to be in nobody's business because then I'm held accountable for that information. So I don't really want to be knowing. So don't tell me nothing. So, I don't really eavesdrop on conversations, none of that. So I'm trying to figure out, like, do I clear my throat? Like, what do I do? And I'm sitting there frozen. And what I got to hear that nobody else was around was a disciplining moment between Kevin and his oldest son. And it was the most gentle, loving moment of discipline that I would have ever thought, because Kevin seems very high strung or what have you. But in this moment with his son, I think his son had popped off at his mother, not Kevin's wife. I don't remember what the situation was. I just remember sitting there going, see, this is the side of Kevin that nobody sees. And he didn't know I was there. So there's no way. He thought he was having a private moment. And he was explaining to his son, how he has to be grateful and humble and how hard both and the mom worked to provide all the things that his son enjoys. And he was breaking down. So when you got that blankety blank, 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 whatever game or whatever, he was like, we worked hard for that. And so other kids, he was explaining, so some kids don't get to have this. And so you have to be grateful and thankful, and you're nice to people. Like he was, and he never raised his voice ever. And I remember and I just sat quiet. I was like, I'm in it now. So hopefully he won't know I'm here. And he like, because I was telling him, like, I don't want him to think I'm eavesdropping. So I was like, I don't know what to do. So I just didn't do nothing. I just sat there. And I remember having just my respect level for Kevin going up tremendously after watching his work ethic and then how he was as a father when nobody was watching. So he wasn't doing this for the camera. He wasn't doing this for the people. He wasn't doing it because he didn't know I was there. And that's how you can really show you. That's how you learn who people really are, who celebrities really are, when they don't even realize nobody's watching them or paying attention. And from that day forward, I'm like, okay, I'll probably never, ever work as hard as Kevin because I don't want that kind of schedule. I ain't even built for that kind of schedule. But I will make sure that when I see and am privy to people hating on him for what he's accomplished, that they understand, now this dude works for this. He folks don't hand him. Kevin has worked. And so I'm really proud of everything that he has accomplished because he's worked his butt off. The man is like a machine. And the fact that you have the star of, this was his film. He could show up late and be disrespectful to the crew if he wanted to with our time or whatever. Never was the case. He was always on time. And not only was he on time, he was on time and ready. He was always showing up prepared. And so what I want, the teachable moment also out of this, how I set this up, is if some of you notice how I even phrased what I was going to talk about. So when I newsjacked Fatherhood, I newsjacked, Kevin Hart's film dropped this last week, but what kind of father is Kevin when nobody is watching? You see how that was provocative, but for those of you who know me, you knew it wasn't going to be nothing bad because that's just not how I get down. If I've experienced anything bad, nobody's going to ever hear my stories publicly on that. Now, I may tell my private friends, but you knew it couldn't have been bad because I wouldn't do that. I would never, I don't care what somebody does. I just don't dime them out like that. I'm always going to only talk about the good. So you knew, if you knew me, then you knew I wasn't going to say something that was mean or anti-Kevin. But from a writing a hook or an email or newsjack perspective, it was all in the how to position it. What kind of father really is Kevin Hart? And then you add when he thinks nobody is looking. So it was still provocative enough, especially to someone who doesn't know me and knows I don't deal in salaciousness, that still positioned what the story was. So when you're going into the media, writing these pitches and these hooks, it's got to be written from a perspective of what's going to get the producer, what's going to make them stop and open that email. Okay. So, I think that's all I'm supposed to share today. Any questions before I say night-night? And again, if you are interested in learning my whole process, my 7-step Maverick method of Media Mavericks, then shoot me an inbox message and Leanne will let you know how you can join us for, hey Leona, how you can join us for Thursday's class and for the next 9 weeks of how I teach you how to, the secret sauce of booking yourself on media outlets like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and CW, and a whole lot more without a publicist and without being a celebrity. If you don't already, get Newsjack That by going to newsjackthat.com, going to newsjackthat.com, and give you the free guide to newsjacking. Celine is asking, will the recording of this be available? Yes, it's on wherever it is right now. It's going to stay. I have no plan to delete it. So wherever you look, because I'm streaming, Celine, I'm streaming to several platforms at one time. So I don't know where you're coming from. So wherever it is, it's going to be. I'm not going to take it away. Any other questions? I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope it was entertaining as well as, wait. Oh, no, I have one more thing to tell you about night school. I'm like, no, I felt like I was going to tell you something else. So night school was also, and some of you will follow me during that time because I posted it on social media, but during that window of being active in the film, we're not really allowed to talk about what's going on set. So, but I can talk about it now. It's been 3 years later. So I'm sitting there. It was the last day of shooting. I'm sitting there outside of the house where we were filming. And all of a sudden I started seeing people I don't never see come to the set. They stay in the trailers, like the makeup artists and the hair people, wig makers. They always stay in the, the trailers because we shoot long days and it's cold outside or it's hot outside. I forgot what it was at the time. But I'm sitting there in my chair and, I'm watching the scene play out. But then I'm seeing I'm like, Why's she out here? Why he out here? What's going on? I'm looking at the set. And then I see Will standing and he's talking to this tall, handsome piece of chocolate. And they're laughing back and forth. And I'm going, hold up. Wait. Okay, wait, hold up. Is that? No. Nobody gonna believe me. Is that? Oh, I gotta at least text my mama. Like, Mom, you're not gonna believe who I'm looking at right now. Y'all, it was the one, the only Idris Elba had come to set. I was like, woo, you look even better in person. That explains why all these women are out here. They ain't never come to the set. And you could just tell they had all kinds of reasons why they need to be busy around the set at this point. And I'm going, yo, I think I actually have a picture of him that I snuck from the side or something. But I was close enough to him where I just gone, hey, Idris, he would have turned around. I was that close to him. But it just tickled me because people had never come to the set, had no reason to be on set. All of a sudden they decided they got to do something on set. But did you hear him speaking in his native tongue? Absolutely, Rhonda. I told you I was that close to him that I could hear the conversation. So yeah, so those are my night school stories. I can't think if I have any more. If I do, I'll tell you. So let's count it down. In 10 questions you want to ask me? 9. I'm on the road. I'm on a move next week. So I'll be traveling to Oakland. Then I get to pop down to LA. 7. 8, 7, 6. 5. 4. Love you too, Tawana. 3. Celine, what am I doing in Oakland? I have 3 days of business meetings back to back to back. So when I get to Oakland, I'll never get to do nothing because I'm in meetings all day. And then I usually have work to do for the meetings the next day. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Rhonda. 2, 1. Hope that was fun for y'all. I'll see you next time. Bye.